Hey, family businessmen. It's Aaron Kimball back with Family Businessmen, and I have a special guest today, Eleanor. She has
Okay.
been someone in my life that has been awesome, has helped me a lot. And I wanted to bring her on to let her share her story and her life, where she's came from, so y'all can take it from another perspective. And besides all of us men, we all get together. Sometimes we just go somewhere and we don't think about the other side. So, Eleanor, great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Awesome. Well, yeah, it's been amazing to be able to know Aaron and see kind of his success. See him raise almost six kids now, which is I think is a lot, and a business and impact other families and men, and I think that's a commendable thing. So thanks for having me, Aaron.
So tell us a little bit about your life, where you got, and then kind of how you're going on to your entrepreneur journey.
Well, I initially started off as a pastor's wife for 12 years and stay-at-home, homeschooling, home birthing mom. Left corporate America to focus on supporting my ex-husband in his field of being a pastor and being a shepherd of the church, and poured fully into my kids and the home life and making sure the home was a place for him. And then eventually, things don't go well, and left me for his high school sweetheart, and that's okay. And then I ended up being a single mom of four kids under the age of 10, actually under the age of 7. And I went back to corporate America, but because I was out of it for 10 years, the best I could do was reach out to community, was to network,
Hmm.
to reach out and to be seen, to be vulnerable, to reach out for help. And I did that. And I ended up picking up 4 random jobs. That's what got me introduced to vacation rental homes and management, because I ended up working for a really successful couple who created their own vacation rental property company. And I was able to help assist and manage some of their properties and assist them. And that's when I learned the back end of kind of business side, right? And having a family that's raising their family, and then being a couple tag teaming for a business. And then I ended up doing kind of doula stuff for moms, and was also doing coaching for fitness on my own at a gym. And then I ended up hiring a coach because that wasn't making a whole lot of money, even though there were 3 jobs. And I ended up hiring a coach to help me bring business online. And I think that's what changed my life for good. At that point, I decided to leave the other jobs so that I could be a present parent. Because at that point, I was gone most of the time, and I had a lot of people watching my kids, so I wasn't raising them anymore. And so I left those other 3 jobs that kept me away from home and launched my business online with that coach who gave me a lot of wisdom from his experience, and was able to be initially a fitness coach online. And I really wanted to help people. And so I started leveling up and reaching out for help for other expertise to really bring breakthrough to other people, not just fitness, but with their mind, their spirituality, their relationships. So then I ended up becoming a lifestyle success coach. And so that's what I do now. Still got 4 kids, but I'm doing different streams of income, and that's what I've learned as a single parent, and being responsible for other kids, and being responsible for the impact that God has put in my life, such as my clientele. Streams of income is very important. So having to be creative and thinking out of the box and gleaning wisdom from other people that know how to do it is the only way to love my family. I have to. I can't lone range it, lone wolf it, because my family deserves to be provided for, and therefore I have to level up for that. So that's my experience so far.
So you need to talk a little bit about, and I'll go back to the Lone Ranger in a minute.
Yeah.
But what's it like being the support role and then having to find support all on your own? Like, walk us through that, like from your perspective, because we as men, we look at things in a totally different direction. So being the support role to actually having needing support, what does that feel? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And kind of walk us through that journey.
Sure. So being a support, I would have to say, so I've been married twice, one to a pastor, one to a federal agent in law enforcement. And so what I've really gleaned from is knowing my place. And I don't mean that from a derogatory, dormant point of view. It means I understand that as a woman, yes, I am just as capable as a man, but as my place as a wife to support means to help my husband be the best he can be in the role that he's chosen. So that means when I chose my husband at that point of view, I knew he was going to be a pastor, and I knew that calling was pretty robust, and it meant that I had to figure out what I was going to do, who I was going to be, how I was going to show up to emotionally, mentally, and physically support him. That meant he was traveling a lot. He was speaking at different places, and having to be okay with that, learning to be okay with me. How was I going to ground myself so he can fulfill his calling, right? And that's despite all the
Mhm.
other negative things that took place, regardless of the relational things that were there. Those were, important and later on to resolve. But just as you're exclusively isolating, supporting someone, it really does mean who is this person I've decided to take responsibility to choose to be with. How do I inquire more information of who this person is and what's their vision? And how would I come and support that? And it's the same thing as a mom. It's the same thing as a coach. Who is this person in front of me that I'm committing to? And what are their needs and how do I fulfill that? And I think that's what support looks like, is empowering the person we choose to support to be the best version of themselves. So that's what it felt like. And he did thrive. He became a well-known pastor, was pastoring all over the country, and was a speaker. And so that was his success. Same thing with the other husband. He was in law enforcement, and supporting him gave him the opportunity to level up and be transferred to an ideal place for himself. And so support can be a very sacrificial thing. It really can, because as a woman, you're going to war between all the emotional, like, fear factors. Is this safe? Is this good? I've got kids.
Mhm.
Where's the money going to come from? And when that happens, regardless of the results, that is a wrestle between a woman and her maker. Straight up. There is no excuse. So the circumstances, the consequences, yes, from a carnal point of view, that's discussions between the spouse and the wife, as it was for myself, examining the family, being able to speak concern. But at the end of the day, it is a matter of the heart of, do I trust God? If I do, what's the direction he's leading me to? Um, Regardless of how uncomfortable that is, but it requires wisdom. So that's what it meant to support someone. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and when you're supporting, and when you have all the other factors that go into the house, like the money and or when things are tight, maybe because you don't understand all the things that go into business.
Yep.
But when the things are tight and you're having to take care of kids, all that emotional stress plus the financial stress,
Yep.
is that, and how does that weigh on you when you're trying to support, your husband as far as moving forward,
Yeah, of
his
course it's very
business?
heavy because I'm the one at home with the kids. I know the numbers. I know what's needed. I know the bills that need to be paid, the groceries that need to be bought, diapers, right? So yes, there's a sense of caution and concern for sure. It's this, oh my gosh, and a woman, as a woman, you're like, okay, is everything going to be okay? So that's how it weighs on me. And sure, it affects, if I don't talk about it, if I keep it all in here, and I'm not walking in truth with good communication, it can be pretty chaotic. And that's
Mm,
where I can speak from my emotions rather than from reason, and create chaos in the home, which then causes shame between spouse and me. And that doesn't empower him to go and get the results I'm looking for. Right. So
yeah.
so for me in the past, it's like, oh my gosh, where's the money? Oh my gosh, how are we going to pay for rent? I could go there and give my husband fear and ignite fear for him. And now we're both tag teaming on fear, creating nothing but the results we're not looking for, which is poverty or scarcity, right? But
Mhm.
to be able to be faithful and say, okay, how do I communicate this in such a way that is in truth but empowering to him? I can say, hey, these are the things that are lacking. I've already creatively adjusted our budget. How else can I support you? That's a whole nother playing field. And for him, it's like, oh wow, like she's already creatively doing something, and she still wants to support me. So let's figure it out. And then at that time, that's when I picked up a little bit of, MLA and all of those crazy things in the past, but I had to creatively figure it out. So that's how it weighed. I won't deny that it wasn't stressful. That's a part of the game, but it's
Yeah.
about how to execute communication. So shame is out of the way and solutions are more of a possibility. Does that make sense?
Yep. Because communication is a huge factor. And in the last interview I did with somebody, we talked about the communication. And it's key and important from both sides. I know, like, just speaking from my side, sometimes I am horrible at it. I just deal with it and move on. I'm not always the best at communicating all the bad stuff because I know, you got things to do. I got to go do what I got to do, right? Too.
Right.
And sometimes you don't want to bring that into the relationship because everybody has their two struggles, right? And sometimes if you don't talk about them, everybody's dealing with them on their own and no one can come together and go, yes, we're both dealing with something. How can we both support each other? I know
Very.
I have failed a lot on doing that in the past. That's something I have to continue to work on is communicating everything too. Usually I don't mind if you ask me, but I usually won't say nothing if you don't ask. I'm just going to continue to move on. But it is good just to have that communication. And as in the last interview, that communication is so important in bringing together
Yes.
that open. Even if you disagree, it's okay to disagree, but just coming together and having that communication because we're not always going to agree on the same thing, right? Because we have two different paths, we have two different ways of thinking, we're two different people. But you still got to have that communication. And as
Right.
hard as that is sometimes to have those talks and to have that communication, the more you can have that and better off you can have that is going to make it a lot better, not only in the relationship and in the family life, but also in the business life. Because if you can have a hard relationship with your wife or with your spouse, then you have one in your business. If you can't have one at home, then how are you going to have one on your business?
Right.
So they go together. And yes, I am better at it usually in business than I am at home. But that's me. But that's why I have to work on both of them because that way I can get better at both of them.
Yeah.
Because I know I hear a lot communication, and then communication is 90% of everything.
For sure. Yep.
So, and communicating is the most important
Yeah.
tool that we can have in our whole toolbox.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how good we are at a skill, if we're not really good at speaking and communicating what we feel and what we're trying to get to, there's no way that will ever work out for either one of us. We're not ever going to get to our point of destination or through our success if we're not willing to communicate
Exactly. Yeah.
through those difficult times, those critical conversations.
Yeah. Critical conversations.
If you can learn how and manage the skill of having a critical conversation, the sky's the limit on kind of where you can go
Yeah.
because that is in everything, those business conversations, customer conversations, conversations, whatever those are, that is the most important thing is having those critical conversations and trying to get to your desired point at this point in time.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, that was I would say to answer that question about supporting. And then you had asked the question, what is it like to have no support and reach out for support? Was that your question?
Mhm. Yes.
I think it's very humbling. Um, I think it's caused a sense of observation for me that I've never really had. It's put me on both sides, to be honest.
Yep.
Um, to have no support and to feel like the man and the woman in the household, uh, because there is no other person, is very difficult. And sure, there's a lot of honor and stuff for like military wives or women whose husbands are very busy. There's still a presence there, regardless, right? And
Mhm.
but to do that on your own entirely is a very very difficult piece. So I think for me, I had to learn to be resourceful, and that means I had to step outside of my thinking and my box instead of, oh, I don't have a husband, therefore, I shouldn't ask for help and there's so much shame. I had to learn to reach out to people that were very successful so I could be like them, so that I could be a present parent at home supporting my kids. A lot of that requires humility. A lot of that requires, hey, I need to be better, so let me go to the best so I can be better. And that requires humility to say, I need help. And it's not just about me, it's I need help because I need to support. There's a domino effect. I need to support
Yeah.
my kids. And not, and I, part of my French, not half ass, but like full heartedly. Not just, okay, let me put food on the table, but it's like, I need to be actually present. I need to discipline them. I need to parent them. I need to teach them. Um, I need to shuffle them all over the place from one game to the next, to school and here. And so with that, that's more than putting food on the table. So to be able to work smart without supporting the home is very crucial. And I think that's beneficial for even, the head of the household. I think any married couple that's running, a tight ship at home, it's important to understand working smart is key, because your presence as a human being in that home is probably one of the most crucial things. And if you can't be there because you're busy, then you're not working smart. So humility to ask for help so that the family structure is safe and maintained is very important. So yes, it was a humbling thing to reach out for help. 100%.
It is very humbling when you at a certain point and you know you need the help and you go get the help.
Yeah.
But what would you say like to a man that's going, I know I need the help, but I can't get my wife to buy in?
So like, you mean there's a man that's like, okay, I need a resource up. It's going to require a little bit of financial investment, and my wife doesn't trust that?
Yes.
That's a good question. I would say presentation. Vision is everything. Vision is everything. There's a saying that goes, where there is no vision, the people shall perish. If a man knows that he needs help to resource up and level up financially, one of the most biggest things is to present to his wife his vision with all clarity, saying, hey, this is what I want long term, whatever that is. I want to be able to be at home 4 days out of 6 days of the week to be present with you and the kids, by 3 months from now. And that is going to require this much finances to cover this much of our outgoing income or outgoing expenses. Therefore, I need to be able to make this much money, and I can't do that by myself. There's a program where there's someone that's going to help me do that in X amount of days, and I really want to prayerfully take that step of faith. Will you take that adventure with me? So instead of like, I'm gonna hire this person, therefore like it's gonna be this way, that's very different. But remember, communication is everything. So
Mm.
communication with clarity is, I think, the most important at that point. Communication with clarity. What's point A from point B, and what do I need in between? And if that man is like, hey, this is point A from point B with all clarity, and she sees the vision, and he says, I need this person and that resource to get me there, and I know I'm going to do it, then I don't see the problem other than uncomfortability and requirement of faith at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So from a woman's perspective, how would a man that's wife is uncomfortable with that leap and that jump off of a cliff with a financial, how would he get her to, that still wasn't comfortable, still get her over that comfortability? Or
Ask her what she needs. What does she need evidence? What does she need to hear? What does she need to see? What does she need to feel in order to say yes, even though it feels scary? Because it's not
no,
about eliminating the fear, but it's creating the support that she can leap with him.
so in other words, he's trying to find out what she needs in order to make the offer
Yes.
to say, okay, I'm going to do this is what I'm going to do. Are you good with that? And good, then go make that happen.
It's kind of
Is
like
it?
this. Here's my clarity. It's like if the man presents to the wife, here's my vision. This is where we're at financially, relationally, family wise. This is where I want to be at by when. There has to be specification. I want to be here financially by this date so that we can do this thing with our family. When that's clear, he can say, these are my needs. I need to invest into financial advisor. I need to invest into a guide of some sort to help me. I need to invest into a team, whatever that is, and it's going to require this much. Um, it would probably be supportive to say, these are my needs. What do you need in order to make sense of
Mm.
that, in order to feel good about that, even though we're both feeling slightly afraid? How can we do this together? So presenting his needs and then asking what her needs are and making sure that that's clear. And she needs to be clear. You know, she needs to be very, very clear. She could say, I need $200 in the bank account every single month, no matter what, for food. Maybe that's it. You know, I'm not sure. I need to make sure that our budget is tight while you do this. Um, so
Maybe
very
it's,
clear.
yeah. And I've seen maybe they need to make sure they have enough money in there for the next couple months. So if you're going to take this much out to go here, you need to get this much in there in order for her to feel comfortable taking that leap of faith with you. That gives her the security that she's looking for. Plus, you just figured out what she needs, so you made that offer to her, and I'll go do that, and then that way you can go take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Because, but a lot of times people don't like to ask, what do you need in order for me to be able to do this?
Right.
I know sometimes I don't even do that. I just go do that. So, you know, you need to have those conversations and see what they are and have them, because if you don't, then there's no way it could possibly work unless you just go and do things, and then you got back end results that you got to go fix.
Right.
But if you don't do it and then you sit around there, because I know a lot of men that their wives weren't comfortable with them taking a leap of faith, then they're sitting there going the whole time going, man, I wish I'd have done that. Man, I wish I'd have done that. And they're sitting there eating themselves up all day long, every day, and no one's talking about it. But then you're in a whole nother situation, right? So that's where it goes back to communicating. And even if, and I may be totally wrong in this, but I'm gonna be pretty bold. Even if you had the conversation that said, and one of them said no, another one said, I'm going to, at least everybody knows where they're at, right? But at some point in time, I don't understand your vision and you don't understand my vision, right? You know, sometimes as a couple and being married, sometimes you just got to trust, even though you don't agree with them. Sometimes you just have to trust that they're going in the right direction.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's all it boils down to when you do have those conversations, just trust.
Mhm.
Because if you don't trust them that to do what's the best for the family and the business, then what's their whole relationship based on then?
Right. For sure.
Because
I think clarity is so key. I think there's a rule of thumb, and you're absolutely right. It is an art. It is an art to learn. And I think clear communication clears conflict. That's my alliteration there. Because you're right, trust is based upon vision, though. And that vision is, who am I? What do I want? And where am I going? When and how?
Mhm.
And it's, you know, even from a spiritual standpoint, like if I'm going to preach it, Jesus was very clear. Who am I? I am the Son of God. And what do I want? I want to save God's children. And where am I going? I am going to the cross and I'm going to resurrect myself. And how and when? Like, this is going to be the moment, you know? And so, I mean, he told his disciples, and there was clarity there. Not exact, like everybody has to know all the fine details. That's why people still had curiosity. And there was like, how do I know? And that's where faith lies in. But at least there was clarity. There was vision. What's the end goal? The end goal was for salvation from man to God, right? That was the end
Yep.
goal. And how was it going to happen? It was going to happen by death and resurrection. That's how. When? Well, that was a different story. But he was like, hey, you'll know by this time, you know. So for us as humans, we kind of get to play with time. We have the opportunity of time. So for us, clarity, it's like, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. So as a man, and this is real talk, I think a successful home and business from a man standpoint requires clarity, clarity as much as possible. Because I think we all know this, women thrive off of detail. And I know men don't like detail, but it is a component that could be helpful to
Yeah.
clear up conflict.
No, you're
Everything
exact.
safe.
And just like being clear, being confident in your communication through the conflict is what's going to help you.
Hmm. Clarity.
Yes, because if they can see your vision, even though they don't may not agree with you, eventually, if you walk the walk, they're going to see that. And that's the biggest thing is walking the walk, being clear with that vision and communicating as much as you can, even though it's uncomfortable as it can be, but it's only going to help in the long term.
Sure. You're right.
You know, so I know just for me, it's something I have to work on all the time, but it's something we all have to work on each and every day to get a little bit better at it, to make sure that we're still going towards the vision that we're supposed to be going to. And we're still very clear, because when things go through there, it can get very blurry when you're hitting those obstacles in life, when
Right.
you're getting in those valleys, when you hit the desert, when it feels like you're in hell, but you almost want to stay in hell because the next hill is too high to climb. It is what it feels like, right? When you're
Yeah.
in business, and that next hill is the most important. But just getting clear while you're in the desert and having those communications and getting through that conflict is what's going to get you out of the desert.
Yeah.
And for men to be able to have those conversations and being clear, even going on their desired path, no matter if their wife is with them or not with them, but just sharing that and just not holding it all in, because that just makes everything 10 times much worse. I know
Oh,
for me, because I'm very good at holding things in and not going forward.
yeah.
So,
Hear that.
oh, it can be very interesting, but it's also it's a great space to grow at the same time.
Yeah. Walking in truth.
Yes, if you walk in truth the whole time in your life and in your business, things get so much better for you,
Yeah.
because we see a lot of men struggle with that. But having a woman's perspective on how he can approach his wife to maybe clear that up, get, clear the air, have those communications, get through the conflict, for having that clarity on that vision that they're both trying to get to, because they
Yeah.
both have the same dream. It's two different paths, right? But the same path comes together again. His path is through his business. Most time her path is through her family, and they're on the same path, and those roads converge together. But if you keep them separate and say you can't do that because of this, then they just get wider.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to remember that when you're trying to go to when you have the same vision, but you're in two different lanes, they got to both come together. And through the communication and through the conflict, because you're going to have conflict through it. There's
Right.
just no way out. It's going to be like bumper cars. You're steadily going to hit, right?
Yeah.
So, but you can't get out of the racetrack. You just got to continue to hit the bumper track and go round and round that circle until you finally get the finish flag, and then you're good to go. Everybody won, right? We got to the same destination. We just had to play bumper cars a few times.
True.
So I mean, that's pretty much what marriage, business, and life is when you're trying to get to the same dream.
Yeah.
Because everybody has the same dream. It's just most of the time we don't communicate it very well. That what I want for the family is the same thing you want for family, but mine comes through the business, yours comes through the family.
Yeah.
So we all understand that, we just don't get there.
Right. For sure.
So it's really good for you to help us clarify sometimes, to make sure we're clear with our vision and communicate that vision, because in greater detail, because that bigger detail is what's going to give the woman the security to say, okay, go ahead and do it.
Yes.
So that's where we have to work on. Some men are very detailed. I'm not, but some are very, very detailed. I understand the details, but I don't like to jump in them. But that just helps us get so much better, and it helps clarity come through that vision for the other person to buy off on, and to get to the common goal that we're both searching for.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you would like to conclude with share with the guys that could really help them that are struggling for where they are right now in their business and with their relationship, that could really help them bring those two roads together?
I think for sure, I think the biggest thing is what do you want? You know, and what is it that you want? I think it's really important for a man to understand what does he want. And what I mean by that is specifically what does he want for his finances? What does or business? What does he want for his marriage? And what does he want for his family? And if he can be very specific on that and figure out what's missing to get him there, then it's what am I missing and how do I get what I'm missing? I think that's very important. And the third is to what I said, it is unlikely for someone to get to a place of success without learning from others. If we are stuck in the same place, it's because we're choosing to be stuck in the same place. We're choosing not to change. We're complaining about it. We're like, okay, I'm not making enough money, this and that. But what is it that we're actually doing to get us to a different result? And that option isn't always, let me work harder. Remember what I said, the more you work harder, you just lose yourself and you lose the vision of what you really want for your marriage and your family. Right. So,
Yep.
And same thing. I mean, you could deteriorate and not have enough energy and health to be able to work hard anyway. So everything you want goes down the hole. So I think defining what you want in those areas are so important. And then being honest about what you need as resources and people in your corner to get you there. And I think to have the vision of taking a fight and a stand for your family is so freaking important. And I'm going to be super real, is throughout all of history, even Jesus, now his disciples were not all on that point of being like the best of the best. And he was cool with that, but he never went out alone. He never freaking went out alone. There is not one man of great success that even ever went out alone.
No.
Ever. And so I think to be a leader, to be a man and to be successful, it requires like your family is worth the fight, and you cannot make that fight and take that fight alone. You have to have an army, and that's sometimes investment. Like, who's in your corner? Who are the top 5 people that are in your corner that are that successful, that are going to help you level up, that you can learn from and help solve solutions to get you to your final destination? If you don't have that, I hate to say it, but you're going to continue to have chaos in your business life and in your home. That is guaranteed. So clarity, and I would say clarity and the ability and the humility to level up and ask people to be in your corner that are going to help you to get to where you want to be and get your family to where that you want them to be also is so important.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Good. I always have a saying that I tell some guys sometimes: ask for support, not for permission.
Yes.
Because when you open the door for permission, that's a whole nother realm. So when you ask for support, that only leaves one avenue. And when you support me, you're supporting the family.
Yeah.
And then I support you back through this. So at the end of the day, everything ties back in together. And the king never went without advisors. He had multiple advisors, right? All through. So if you think you can go at life alone, if you think you can go at life through business alone, good luck. And if you're getting your business advice from your friends that don't have a business or aren't successful as a business, you can pretty much guess why your business isn't successful as you would like it for it to be.
Right.
So you get to make the choice. Either way you make the choice, decided to do something or not, it's all up to you. So anyways, guys, we really appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, what all that YouTube stuff is. But anyways, we'll talk to you next time. Thank you. We'll see you later.